Microphones are live now. Sign up.
All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the regular Sunnyside City Council meeting for today, November 25, 2024. For the record, all members of council are present with the exception of Councilor Vasquez, who has requested an excused absence. If there's no objection, we will give her an excused absence.
Objection.
No objection.
Hearing none, she is excused. And all members of staff who need to be here are also present as well. So thank you, everyone. All right, first item on the agenda is our agenda. Oh, I'm sorry, I need to look at this. Okay, here we are, agenda approval. We have a couple of things that need to be adjusted on our agenda before we open it up for councilors' agenda approval. This has been requested by staff. We need to amend the agenda by adding a 2025 budget discussion at the end of our active agenda. I know Deputy Mayor was going to add that in there, but that's also requested by staff, and that would be item E on the active agenda.
We're calling it what?
Budget discussion or 2025 budget discussion.
Thank you.
And I think that's to get a report on the work that's been done in the last week. Another item that needs to be changed is to remove the item related to impress funds. And that is item number B under the active agenda. That is not ready for council at this time, so that is going to be removed. And then all of you should have in front of you a printed copy of the minutes of November 12, 2024. And the minutes that were in your packet were not correct, and so they've been updated. And these need to be approved tonight because the Department of Health needs approved minutes of the meeting in order for the water resolution to move forward.
Okay.
So with all of those, is there any other items that need to be added to the agenda? All right, hearing none, what is council's desire on our agenda with the additions and changes that have been made?
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, motion by Deputy Mayor, second by Councilor Hart to approve the amendments or the agenda as amended. Debate on this item? Hearing none. Mr. Beeler?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Ripley?
Yes.
Ms. Fausto?
Yes.
Mr. Gallan?
Yes.
And Ms. Hart?
Yes.
And I too vote yes. Motion passes. All right. Next item is invocation. Do we have someone here to give an invocation? All right. I'd like to ask that please rise for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance afterwards.
Good evening. I'm Deacon Kerry Turley from St. Joseph's Church, and I ask that you bow your heads and pray for God's blessing. Lord, we give you thanks for this wonderful city that we live in and this community that means so much to all of us. As we gather this evening, I ask that you bless those who put their lives on the line, our policemen, our firemen. Bless also the city workers who do so much for our community. I also ask your blessing, Lord, on this council. As we open up for discussion this evening, let it be civil. Let everybody be of one accord in making us a better city to live in, a better community for all. May all of your actions be for the most common good of our community. We ask this in our Lord's name. Amen.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. And Mr. Get the clerk to get me the list of public comments. Next item on our agenda is public comments. And hopefully everyone who wants to make a public comment has signed up.
Passes to me.
Thank you. All right, citizens are advised that they must limit their remarks to the council to 3 minutes. Council may refer items to staff to review and or research for presentation at a future meeting. And if you put some contact information, someone from staff will probably reach out to you before too long and give you any follow-up information. The first name on my list is Breezy Campos.
Hello, everyone. As you all might know, my name is Breezy Campos. I am a business owner in Sunnyside, and I'm here today as a proud member and a parent of the Sunnyside Rotary Swim Team. I'm excited to speak to you very quickly about how close to heart this is to our community pool. As many of you know, a petition was started by Janet Aguirre, our vice president, and on our behalf of the swim team to talk and represent the pool and how important it is to all of us. With 560 signatures as of now, it is clear that the community feels the same way. This pool is not just a place to swim. It is a pillar of our community, a source of pride, and a place where lives are transformed. Shutting it down would be more than a mistake, and I wish and hope so greatly that it is possible that we could come to a better option than to close it. It would be a loss to our entire community at this point. Did you know that the pool is a unique way of giving back to the lives of Sunnyside people? Let me share a personal example. My daughters grew up here. They took swim lessons at the pool. They joined the swim team. And then they became lifeguards. And then they wanted to give back, so they applied, and they are the current last summer's coaches for the Sunnyside pool. And they coach my son, their little brother. And someday, hopefully, my daughter's son, which would be my grandson. So many of generations that come through Sunnyside are affected by that pool. The power of the pool, it creates a legacy and learning and growth, and it is possible to give back to your community. But the impact of shutting the pool down does not stop there. It would hit our youth especially hard. On those long, hot summer days, when school is not in session, the pool is a safe place, a positive place where kids can spend their time. They can be active, build relationships. They're safe. They're not on the streets causing harm. So without this, many young people would not have any options at all for their summer. They would just spend the day looking for trouble. Maybe their parents are at work and they don't have any other options. So beyond this personal story, for the Sunnyside Rotary Swim Team also brings significant value to the city, our pool. The weekly meets draw families in from our surrounding communities, bringing them to our local businesses to shop, eat, and stay. The revenue is for our city that we can count on because of our pool, because we have a swim team. I also urge you to review the financials carefully. Over the past 5 years, that there are actual operating costs that we can see. It is important to distinguish between a regular expense and the one-time issues like a pump failure that we experienced last year that did.
Ms. Campos, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Okay, you're done. Okay. I do want to present the petition.
Okay, if you can hand that to Mr. Sanchez there.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, next name on my list is Irma Mejia.
Good evening. As a Sunnyside resident for the past 38 years, I'm also part of the Sunnyside Rotary Swim Club. As a mom, I have 2 children and have been part of this team for 10 years. This swim team recruits over 100 children from Sunnyside. We've seen a lot of growth and promise to our community with previous swim champions. And if the pool is taken away, we may not see Olympic swimmers come out of Sunnyside. I also am a dedicated and volunteer for our city of Sunnyside. I've been a volunteer for the Sunnyside Parks and Rec Soccer 2 years. So I'm invested in our community, in our children, and our youth. It's important that we have some place for children to come and not only participate, but also work as building teams. I've been a healthcare provider here in Sunnyside for over 20 years, and we're seeing high rates of obesity due to lack of exercises, lack of activities that we don't have as many here in Sunnyside. If children don't have any activities to do, then that's when we run into getting into trouble. And so having this safe place where we have multiple families come together, volunteer and support our youth has brought and drawn in more children each year. I personally want to extend my time to help the city come up with an alternative plan, because taking away our pool from our children and our families also will decrease the amount of students participating in our high school swim team. We can pretty much say goodbye to that. If there's no children participating or a place to swim or practice, we may not have that coming and affect our high school. It also, the swim team also draws in a lot of people, a lot of community in Renevue, so I'm happy also to support in that team. But I'm asking kindly that you reconsider removing the pool as a safe place for children, because although there is a monetary value to keeping the school open, there's no monetary value that will take away the success from these children. So please consider not closing the pool.
Thank you. Next name on my list is Sandra Lindy.
Hello, I'm Sandra Lindy, as many of you know, and I'd like to talk about a scheduling issue. Start with this. Sunnyside has a rich and important religious tradition. It was once known the community of churches and was once featured in the Guinness Book of World Records as having the most different churches per capita. And most of our churches meet on Sundays, and we are beginning to have more and more conflicts with city activities on Sundays. When the hospital wanted to do the movie theater for families, they were told they could do it only on Sunday. They couldn't do it on Saturday. I know when my daughter was part of the Miss Sunnyside program, a lot of things ended up being on Sunday also. And I'd like us to consider leaving that day as a day for the church communities. I've already heard, in my work as a chaplain, working with a lot of the pastors in the community, heard from a couple of them that are just saying those conflicts are difficult when we have these things going on, and families saying, should I have something fun with my kids, or should we go to church with my kids? And I just want us to maybe realize that it's important for us to let Sunday be a day that families can do church, do their own family things, and things like that, but not that our city will continue to have so many more activities on that day. Thank you.
Thank you. Next name on my list, LaDon Lindy. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity to be here with the mayor and city council and staff. I didn't come here to speak about the pool. I know that as you do, I have my own budget issues to worry myself about. And so, but I will advocate the fact that we had 2 kids that did Rotary swim team, and we thought it was a great thing for them. I'm actually going to follow along the same line of path as my wife about concern about Sunday activities. And, we don't, as a society, we don't tell people, where to go to church and whether they should go to church. But I advocate for the idea that we should leave that time open for churches. And let me give you just a couple examples why I think this is important. One is a story that came from the early 1800s. This is written by a French author by the name of Alex de Tocqueville. He wrote an interesting book called Democracy in America, where he came actually to come and study the American people and American society and wanted to know what made it tick and what made it successful. And he said, I came to look for the greatness of America. And he says, and I looked first of all in their farms, and I saw abundant fields and great production. He says, but that's not what makes America great. He says, I looked at their businesses and saw that they had booming businesses. They employ people and they're very industrious, hardworking people, but that's not what made America great. And he says, and then I went to their churches. And he says, and that's where I found the greatness of America. He said, America is great because America is good. And when America ceases to be good, it will cease to be great. Now, that was written almost 200 years ago, but I'd like to share another story that came out about 5 years ago. This is from Dr. Clayton Christensen, who is a Harvard Business School professor. Anyway, he was telling a story about an encounter he had with a Chinese Marxist economist who had come to Harvard on a Fulbright scholarship a number of years ago. And at the end of his fellowship, Dr. Christensen asked him and says, well, in your time here in America, has there anything happened here that has surprised you or that you've learned that surprised you? And he says, without any hesitation, he said, yes, I had no idea how critical religion was to the proper functioning of democracy. He said, democracy works not because the government is watching over all the citizens every minute, watching and making sure they do the right thing, but rather democracy works because most people, most of the time, voluntarily choose to do what is right. And he said, in your history, your people have gone to churches and synagogues regularly where they go to hear from people that they trust, and they've come to believe that ultimately they're not just accountable to society, but they're accountable to God. And then he says, my Chinese friend's remarks then kind of heightened a sense of anxiety that he had as he watched the decline of religion and churches in American society. He says, where are the institutions that will teach the next generation to voluntarily do what's right? And he concluded with this statement because when you take away religion, you can't hire enough police. Anyway, just a thought that there is for all the things that we try to do as government, we create programs. Family and religion are preeminent. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. The next name on my list is Britton Moore.
Good evening, everyone. Britton Moore, Sunnyside. Wanted to just remind everyone and anyone who's listening that we have an anti-crime team meeting tomorrow night here at 6:30. We're going to be talking about getting together a anti-graffiti team and also a anti-crime patrol team, all under the direction, of course, of Chief Lehman and our city manager and anyone else. Our goal is to be a second set of eyes for our officers and just get rid of the crime that's happening around town. The other thing I wanted to talk about was the budget. Social media is just a place that can be so frustrating. A lot of folks are here tonight talking about the pool, other things that are on the table of possibly being closed. Sadly, the public doesn't know what's transpired in the last month, 6 months, 2 years. They don't know. They haven't been watching. And to try and educate them over social media is almost impossible. What I am finding is that they are attacking some of our new hires in finance or in other departments. And that's frustrating because they have nothing to do with it. Just like many of you new council members have nothing to do with this. Marty, due diligence last year, he went into the city hall and looked at the books, wanted to find out what was going on. Sadly, what was in the books wasn't true. There's no way he would have known that it was true or not true. The numbers were not correct. So it comes down to city council making some hard decisions, and a lot of them are going to be unpopular. Sadly, in order to defend yourself, you have to talk about what transpired. We don't really know what transpired, but we do know that there's no money there. I, again, am asking kindly for you to consider a forensic audit. I know that that seems like it may not be in the budget, but in order for you all to keep your jobs, there's going to be a very angry mob upset about things that have to be closed down, and they're going to be looking to you for answers, and you're going to need answers. So again, I'm asking for a forensic audit. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, and I'm just going to make a couple of comments simply because I know a lot of people who come to make comments leave right after the public comment section. So I just want to make sure you hear this. For those of you who are speaking about, the pool closure, that was brought up, not that it's going to be closed at this point, or other closures and that sort of thing. No one on council wants to see parts of our city closed. We've talked about, somebody suggested other terms, a reduction or suspension or something like that. But as someone whose 4 children all participated on the swim team, 3 of my 4 children had their name up on the records board of various pools around the valley. Three of them served as coaches, lifeguards, teaching swim lessons to kids and that sort of stuff. The pool was a very integral part of my life as well as many other people in this community. And I am incredibly reluctant to close down. So we're going to be looking at options. When we bring things up as a budget discussion, this is a point where we start our discussion. That doesn't mean that a suggestion is something that is hard and fast that is now going to happen. This is a place where we start our discussion, and if we can avoid shutting down youth programs, programs for our senior citizens, and finding a different way of funding it or a different way of running it, we're certainly going to do that. There has been a committee of council members that has been meeting regularly since last week, Monday, looking at the budget line by line. And later on in this meeting, we're going to have a discussion about some of that. But to their credit, they are taking the time out of their busy schedules to meet regularly and just plow through this. And I am very grateful to them for their work and their dedication to this. And we're trying to find ways. It's going to be tough. This is not an easy battle. And so we're working our way through it. We're doing the best that we can to try to preserve as many activities as we can, especially for our kids, but also for senior citizens. And we're going to do the best we can. It's going to hurt if we do have to close something down for a period of time. It's going to hurt us equally as well as the rest of the community, because these are things that mean stuff to us as council members as well. So please know that we're doing all we can, and it is a painful process. So thank you, everybody, for your comments and for being here this evening. Next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. The consent agenda consists of the following. And the first minutes is the minutes that we needed to amend. The minutes of our August 26, 2024 regular meeting. I'm sorry, not that one. November 12th. Minutes of the October 7 study session, minutes of the October 14 regular meeting, minutes of the October 21 study session, minutes of the October 28 regular meeting, minutes of the November 4 study session, and these are the ones that we received the minutes of just now, minutes of the November 12, 2024 regular meeting. Also approve payroll vouchers numbers 119658 through 119663 and wire transfers as listed for $652,794.39 for the period ending October 31, 2024. Approve claim voucher numbers 116092 through 110793 and wire transfers as listed for $1,634,727.54 for the period ending November 20, 2024. And amendment of resolution 2019-14, approve the resolution amending resolution 2019-14 to expand the use of annual lodging tax revenues for the development of tourism-related facilities instead of limiting funds to convention and conference facilities. Council members, is there any item from the consent agenda that anyone would like to remove for discussion? Mr. Beeler.
Payroll. Transaction number 16233. Just clarification on that.
Okay. Ms. Ripley.
Let's see. Number 16656
6. Okay.
and 16680.
80. All right. Anyone else? Mr. Deputy Mayor.
16665, 16692, 16720, 16736.
All right.
16692. And then 16720 and 16736.
120, can you put it again? I'm so sorry.
16720.
All right. Any others? Council Ripley's were 16656 and 16680. All right, Mr. Beeler, you're up first.
Just clarification on what the $1,300 is for on the payroll check.
That would be for the cashed out of vacation.
Cashed out vacation, didn't quit or anything, just cashed it out.
That's the employee's last paycheck.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
All right. Ms. Ripley.
Okay, the one that I was asking about, 16656, that was to the United States Treasury. And it was 84,764. And is that all late fees from 2014?
the civil penalties that I spoke of at the last meeting
Uh-huh,
that are back to 2016.
from 2016. I just wanted clarification on that. And 16680, State of Washington Department of Corrections, is 30,803. Is that for 1 month's worth of meals for the prisoners?
I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to look at the invoice, but it very well could be.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
It has 6 invoices.
Oh, 6 invoices, so,
A week invoice is approximately $5,000.
I'm trying to get to it.
We'll give you a second, sir.
Okay, so I believe that we're purchasing them usually by the week. And so that's probably covers 6 weeks.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do have a meal breakdown based off questions from the last meeting that I can email out in my weekly report to Mr. Gonzalez.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
84,000.
And approximately how many prisoners are we talking about feeding?
We're usually housing around 60.
60. Okay. So we're talking about 60 inmates, 3 meals a day, correct?
6.
Correct. We are feeding the inmates for around $13 a day. And that, if we buy those prepackaged meals from the State Department of Corrections, they meet all of the requirements that we're required to feed them as far as calories and everything else.
Thank you, sir. All right. And then Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, the first one, 16665, the C-Specs battery replacement. Is this vehicle part of the lease program? Do we know? And
I'm sorry, what is that number again?
16665? Battery replacement of vehicle 514. And the reason I ask is, I mean, we have 2 full-time technicians and I just don't see why they can replace a battery.
If I'd have to look into that and see why, yeah, what's the details of that replacement?
And also if that vehicle is part of the lease program, that vehicle 514. I'll move on to the next one, 16692. Is this, it's for belts and tensioner replacement. Is this just for parts? Do we know? Vehicle 232?
And I did confirm that lease does not include regular.
We can't hear anything back here.
Is that microphone on?
Sorry about that. I did confirm that the lease payments do not include regular maintenance.
Okay,
That is not a lease vehicle. It's a older police vehicle.
okay. Next one is 16720, a reimbursement for permits, just water meter hookup. I was wondering what, I guess what constitutes as a reimbursement? Is the project not going to happen or?
So, I'd have to look into this, but I think I can kind of give you just a general what took place there. That was a project where a developer was going to, he paid upfront for his water meter services. And then as the project developed, there was some changes to where then they added an extension of a water main. And then he did the actual taps on the new service line. So therefore, what he had already paid for had to be reimbursed it back because that wasn't work that that he had paid for, but the city didn't do because of the change of the project.
Okay, And 16736, 9th and Yakima Valley Highway repair damaged pipe. Is this somebody that caused the damage or it was just regular maintenance?
Yes, that was a fire hydrant that was hit by a vehicle, which is going to be covered by their insurance. We obviously had to repair it, buy the hydrant, replace it, and then their insurance is supposed to refund the city for the damages.
They're going to reimburse it pretty much. And who's in charge of making sure that that reimbursement does happen? I mean, I've dealt with insurances before and you let them, sometimes they just don't pay.
So finance would be submitting the claim to their insurance.
Okay.
We,
Oh, the finance department submits the claims to them.
we would have the police report along with all the invoice of damages. And then when the, whoever hit it, they were,
Mhm.
you know, they were cited, and on their ticket, it shows that they did hit
Okay.
something.
All right. Thank you. That was up.
All right, council, have your questions been satisfactorily answered?
Yes.
All right. Then, if no other questions. What is the desire of council on this item?
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, we got a motion by Counselor Beeler, second by Counselor Ripley to approve the consent agenda. Is there debate on this item? Hearing none. Counselor Beeler,
Yes.
Counselor Ripley,
Yes.
Counselor Frausto,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor,
Yes.
and Counselor Hart.
Yes.
And I too vote yes. Motion passes. All right, active agenda. Counselor, we have a proclamation before us and we need to vote on that. To approve a resolution celebrating a lighted farm implement parade on December 7, 2024 in the city of Sunnyside. So every year for the last 30 plus years, City of Sunnyside has hosted a lighted implement parade. In fact, it's the longest running lighted implement parade in the country. We've been on television. We've become in some small sectors quite famous for that. It's something that as a city, we're quite proud of. The citizens of this town, rightfully so, feel quite proud about that. And we put on a pretty good parade. Normally this time of year, we issue a proclamation supporting this parade and wondering if council has any objection to moving forward with this proclamation.
Move to approve.
We
Second.
have a motion to approve and second. Motion by Counselor Hart, second by Deputy Mayor to approve the proclamation. Is there debate on this item? Hearing none. Mr. Beeler.
Yes.
Yes.
Counselor I'll get there. Counselor Ripley, thank you. Yes. Counselor Frausto.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor
Yes.
and Counselor Hart.
Yes.
And I too vote yes. Motion passes. Thank you. I will now read the proclamation into the record. Whereas the city of Sunnyside has celebrated its annual event known as the Sunnyside Lighted Farm Implement Parade since the late 1980s and wishes to commemorate the 34 years that this event has been held in our community. And whereas the Sunnyside Lighted Farm Implement Parade is the oldest farm implement parade in the nation, paying unique tribute to Sunnyside's agricultural heritage, featuring tractors, combines, and antique farm equipment. Each piece is uniquely decorated with thousands of twinkling lights. And whereas we wish to honor those individuals and groups who assist in the event, including Sunnyside Rotary Club, Sunnyside Police Department, Fire Department, Public Works Department, local businesses, sponsors, and participants, as well as the countless volunteers for whom the city is forever grateful. Now, therefore, I, Dean Broersma, Mayor of the City of Sunnyside, Washington, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the laws of the state of Washington and on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim the first Saturday in December as Sunnyside Lighted Farm Implement Parade Day in the city of Sunnyside. I encourage all citizens of our community to attend and participate in the events planned that weekend. In testimony whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the city of Sunnyside to be affixed, done at the city of Sunnyside this 25th day of November in the year 2024. And we have one copy for the city and one copy for the Rotary Club. All right, and I always look forward to this event. The only thing I don't like about it is sometimes it's really, really cold. All right. Next item on our agenda is item C, Information Technology Services Interlocal Agreement with Yakima County. Approve a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with Yakima County for technology information services. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. So as you mentioned, this is an interlocal agreement between us, the city of Sunnyside, and Yakima County for technology support services. This is an agreement that's been ongoing for many years now. IT Manager Dennis Knight is here to answer any questions about it. Mayor?
Mr. Knight.
Any questions, sir?
Okay, council members, any questions for either the manager or Mr. Knight? Ms. Hart?
Yes. Is this in addition to your being here, you and your other technician?
This
Is this separate from?
us, correct? It is. This ILA is just for the internet access for us.
Okay, so what your department is currently providing is daily.
Daily services, servers, configuration and setup and all the rest of the stuff, you know. So this is just for that.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Mr. Deputy Mayor.
So the cover page states $10,000, but the contract says 11,000. Which one is the correct amount?
Should be for 11,000. Yeah, 11,000.
Okay.
So the cover sheet is incorrect.
And get that updated for you.
Mr. Bueller. No, go ahead, Mr. Bueller, you have the floor.
It looks like it used to be 157,188 and we're down to $11,000.
That was when they were providing all the services.
All the services. So this
They
is
would do the help
just the
desk.
internet
Yes,
and
sir.
it's
Just internet. Nothing.
fiber optic.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
So this is pretty much so that the city can have internet, correct? It goes to City Hall and you distribute to different departments.
Yes, sir.
I know right now it's at the half a gig. What is 500 megabytes? Is that enough for the city or should we consider a gig or are we good at half?
At the moment, this is enough. I've already done the research to actually get a secondary service pulled in. So that way we've got redundancy outside of just the county, Yakima County. What happened, was it 3 or 4 months ago when that accident happened at the bridge where it took out the internet and stuff like that? That was because we just had one service provider that way. So I've actually started the process to look at it. But with the way our funds are right now, I've kind of put that on hold, you know, until everything kind of levels out and then we'll move forward with that.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yep.
Further questions? Hearing none, what is the desire of council on this item?
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Mr. Bueller, and who was the second?
It was
Ms. Fausto? All right, motion by Counselor Bueller, second by Counselor Frausto to approve a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with the Yakima County for technology information services. Is there debate on this item? Hearing none. Mr. Bueller?
Yes.
Ms. Ripley?
Yes.
Counselor Frausto?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor?
Yes.
Counselor Hart?
Yes.
I too vote yes. Motion passes. Item D, Yakima County Development Association Grant Application. Approve a resolution authorizing application submission to the Yakima County Supporting Investments in Economic Development, SEID Board to fund Sunnyside Strategic 20-Year Plan. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. So this is a request for the council to sign a resolution supporting the city of Sunnyside pursuing a grant with the Yakima County Development Association. A lot of folks know them as YCDA. It's known as their seed grant. So this will allow us to pursue my goal and the staff's goal of this 20-year strategic plan. So currently we're going to go for $175,000 grant. Doesn't mean we'll necessarily utilize that entire amount. There is a 15% match component, which basically means we'll have to have around $35,000 on hand to support the reimbursement process. So I think it's a great investment. The YCDA board requires this resolution. So essentially what this is, it gives the board, first of all, so you know about it, so the city manager isn't sort of working independently. Two, that the body supports it and thinks it's a good endeavor, and then three, it puts it on the record essentially that we're going after this grant, and if they award it, there is some financial components that we'll have to have for it, but I can tell you YCDA has been just great to work with. John and the group over there have really kind of shepherded us through the process, and in a sense, I think they're rooting for us. And I think when I was hired, this is one of the things during my interview process I was really, really harping on is, this desire of mine to have a 20-year strategic vision. And as I've been in the community, it's something that I think the business community wants, and in general, our citizens want. And I think this will really be our North Star. A good economic development plan. It costs, it's a 6-figure endeavor. It's a huge investment. I've done a couple when I was at the city of Pasco, our economic development plan, our downtown master plan at Pasco. Then at Franklin County, Derek will tell you we did our financial plan, which, gosh, it was a 6-month work in progress. So this is something that's going to take a long time. It's not something we just slap together in a month. But I think it'll just be a wonderful thing and a guiding light for Sunnyside.
All right. Thank you, sir. Council questions for the city manager, Mr. Beeler.
Yeah, this is a 20-year plan that takes us out to 2045. How set in stone is this, and do we get to update it?
Every plan is malleable, if that's a word. It's always flexible. I think it gives you a roadmap, Counselor. So, and I think that's the one thing that I'm recognizing, that we don't have a real strong long-term vision plan. We have a lot of pocket plans, like the parks plan, to this plan, to that plan. But I know my time in government, those plans, like the individual plans, have a tendency to sit on the shelf and they collect dust sometimes. And you go, oh yeah, I remember that plan. So I think one strategic plan and I plan to bring the community into this and bring all our council members as part of the outreach component. So it is very flexible. As you go down the line, every year, obviously we'll look at it to see if it is our guiding principle. Then I would say, Debbie, probably every 5 years you look at a plan and you see, and Derek as well, he's nodding his head, and you take a look at it.
Part of the strategic plan is going to help develop our comprehensive plan, our capital facilities plan, which the capital facilities plan, we do need to be evaluating every year. That's like the budget kickoff of what projects are coming up. And so it is something that would be reviewed regularly.
Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Hart, you had a question?
Well, basically, and I think you just answered it, Ms. Seville, as much as that it would include the comprehensive plan, the urban growth plan, those things that we have to look at anyway, as well as probably looking into our transportation improvement, our streets plan would be part of this strategic plan too, because they all kind of have to come together, correct?
And Counselor, I think one thing we're finding is even Debbie and I were talking about REIT funding, and Derek for potentially a soccer master plan, but like Counselor Beeler asked about updating it. One thing, you have to update that capital facilities plan on an annual basis because your goals are always kind of changing, and as the community evolves. So there was a component we didn't have anything in there specifically for soccer and development of that. Now we had parks, but you can't conflate one without the other. So anyway, point being, like in terms of the flexibility, I think this plan will also allow the connectivity and the glue. So we're really working on all cylinders at one.
Ms.
Yeah, so I am a fan of strategic
maps, strategic plans, because it becomes a roadmap to where we want to go. We've all been shouting this. Yes, it was a point of conversation during your interview process. There is just a lot of aiming that we're doing, and we're aiming so endlessly. So I'm a fan of this, but I have to ask the finance questions if they haven't been answered already. How are we factoring this in, since I believe it's a 20% match that has to come from the city? How are we factoring this into the upcoming budget?
There are discussions that we're having, and I'll let Debbie answer that.
So typically when we do grant reimbursements, we would be reimbursed for up to 80%. We would be responsible for 20%. So as City Manager Gonzalez talked about, this is going to happen over a period of time. So the whole grant's not going to be consumed in 1 year. It's going to be over a period of time.
Okay, over the course of how long is this grant going to be distributed?
I think, I don't know the exact time that you have to have it spent, but typically, Derek, you could help me out with this.
This is not, you have to look at, so my understanding with what we're looking at with here, so you got your comprehensive plan, right? And that's got all these different elements in it. The strategic plan, same thing. There'll be specific, well, each of those things, deep dive. What is the economic footprint of the community, for example? This, that, these, those. So months and months can be involved in the data because it's data collection, it's interviews, there's just a lot into it. So it can take easily a couple of years.
Sorry to interrupt you, Derek. I'm asking specifically about the disbursement of the grant. Over a course of how long are we going to be getting funds allocated to us if this award is granted?
Well, that's going to.
I'll have to find out that exact amount, but I know, for instance, when I worked on the downtown master plan at Pasco, that process took well over a year. So, I think if you took 5 years, that would be a lot, but I think it's usually a couple of years is typical, but let me find out the exact
Seems
number.
like it's
No, that's a really good question. Let me find that out.
And there are things like this that we do still need to be budgeting for. I mean, we are in a crisis mode, but we can't stop either. We still need to be moving, and if we were to just stop moving forward, we would probably start falling backwards even harder. And so we do have some, like even with our rate analysis, we do need to hire consultants to do that. We need to keep moving forward on those. So we are budgeting for those things to happen.
Thank you, Ms. Sable.
Mr. Deputy Mayor.
So is this funding to create a 20-year plan or implement a 20-year plan? Because I think
it would be to create it, really create the roadmap, and then, the implementation phase. I mean, that's another process. What I am hoping is that we could use this entire bucket of money for the creation, then the implementation. And, the implementation is always harder. And I think back, because the downtown master plan, it was such a process, like the outreach that goes into it. And then, we had, for example, we had identified old codes that weren't relevant, or perhaps, gave a feel of targeting, certain groups. So we had to go and, the first phase was identification, then removing and rewriting a lot of the codes was the implementation. So my hope is with $175,000 is that we can create and then implement and create something that we're proud of. And then again, kind of gives us this North Star for who do we want to be, and I think this master plan or strategic plan, whatever you want to call it, will encompass buckets like economic development, housing, tourism. Do we want to create a soccer master plan? Is that something that will attract business? Working with the port, working with the school district. So all these partners that I've already alerted, okay, you guys are all going to have to come to the table and have a stake in the game. And one of my ideas And I was just thinking about this today in terms of the match component, because I've talked to Jay Hester a little bit about supporting this. He's like, I'm on board. So we've talked a little bit about supporting the match component for them to bring to the table, because in all reality, he's the one that turned me on to this grant and said, hey, go, talk to John Smith and the gang over here for this seed grant. So I'm feeling really good about, them wanting to be a partner in this process. I haven't asked Ryan for any money yet, so I need to hit him up next. So, but Jay seems to be on board in that regard.
And one of the things as in our staff meetings that we're talking about is 2025 is going to be our rebuilding years. Kind of, we're going to be doing a reset and trying to get, all the department directors, all the staff on the same page moving forward, and having a strategic plan that, brings in the community and the council, each one of the council members, everyone gets a say in how it comes together. And it seems like there's been, such divisiveness over the past couple of years that this gets to be like the mechanism to just like bring everything together, bring everyone together in a community fashion till we can really start making some good efforts into making our community be what we want it to be and be a great city.
Mr. Deputy Mayor.
On the actual resolution, if you read under section 1, it says grant/loan. Is this a true grant, or could it possibly be a loan?
I honestly, I'd have to find that out. My perception of it is it's a grant, so I don't know about the loan component. But
We haven't talked about a loan. It's just,
yeah, the only thing I've talked to John and those guys about is the grant component. And that, I was asking for guidance from them, like as far as a template for the resolution, and that's what they sent over. So
we remove the and loan.
yeah, and I can check with them, and I thought that was just semantics, but as far as I know, it's only a grant with a match component when I've talked to them.
It may have been language I would.
Yeah, let me check with them. That's my fault.
I looked this up and it seemed, it looked like a grant, so.
Yeah,
I thought it was
that's my
just
perception.
Semantics too, yeah.
Ms. Hart.
I think you answered the question.
Okay. Further questions or comments? So this is, long-range planning is a subject that I've broached with every city manager that I've had the privilege of working with. In a previous life, that was a huge part of my job. We did a lot of long-range planning and medium-range planning, and seeing the benefits of a well-thought-out, well-put-together long-range plan. I'm seeing in the institutions that I used to work with that those plans are still bearing fruit. And so to be able to put a long-range plan together for the city of Sunnyside, knowing that it is going to be adjusted and tweaked, and kind of what we did council with the council goals and objectives, we've adjusted them, we've tweaked them, we've made it apply to our situation as opposed to several years ago. But yet it's important to start somewhere. And so if we have this 20-year plan that we set up, and 5 years from now, a different council looks at it and says, yeah, this and this, but not that. And so it adjusts a little bit, but it's a good starting point, and it gives us a sense of being able to, okay, we made progress here. Here we're seeing some success. This idea didn't work at all, but over here, this one is really working well. We're going to push this one a little harder. It just gives us a starting point, just like our budget discussions. It's a starting point, and I think it's incredibly valuable. It really is going to help the city of, like I said, this is something that I've really wanted to see happen, and it just hasn't been able to yet. So I am very much in favor of this. I've had conversations with the manager over this, and we both agree that planning is incredibly important. So is there any further questions or comments on this?
No.
Mr. Beeler.
Running the businesses that I've run, if you don't have a goal that everybody's working towards, you're never going to get anywhere. And I use that same philosophy on our marriage, my wife and I marriage. If we both set a goal, we agree to it, we work on it together, and we always get it. So it's nice to have a goal and everybody knows where we're going, so we're all going in the same path.
Thank you, sir. There's no further questions or comments. What is the desire of council on this item?
Move to approve the resolution authorizing application submission to the Yakima County supporting investment in economic development. Board to fund the Sunnyside's strategic 20-year plan.
Second.
All right, thank you for reading that, Councilor Hart. Motion by Councilor Hart, second by Councilor Beeler. In favor to approve the resolution. Debate on this item. Hearing none. Councilor Beeler.
Yes.
Councilor Ripley.
Yes.
Councilor Frausto.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor.
Yes.
Councilor Hart.
Yes.
And I too vote yes. Motion passes. Thank you. Item E, 2025 budget discussion. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. So we continue our budget discussions. The Finance Committee worked really hard Wednesday and Thursday for, 3-4 hours at a pop. So I think it was a great experience for everybody to look line by line. They made a lot of headway, still quite a bit of work to go. Deputy City Manager Debbie Zabel's here, also myself and staff for any questions. Mayor?
Council members, any questions for our Deputy City Mayor or Deputy City Manager or City Manager? Ms. Hart.
I'm just asking if there was anything that was out of the ordinary as you went through it. I understand line by line. Is that, if that's what I understood is what would happen, it was line by line. So were there anything that sort of jumped out that just was, what is this kind of questions?
Do you want to start or you need to start?
You can.
So, Councilor Hart, yeah, we went line by line, literally. We would go back and see what the expenses were for this year, and we could go back, 23 or whatever. So there's a lot of items and a lot of expenses that were like one-time expenses, like somebody in the audience said, for the pool, we spent ARPA money repairing a pump, and, hopefully it's not going to go out every year. So that's savings there. There's a lot of items that were not in the appropriate line item. So, we were able to move it around to a different one. Just different things here and there that we were able to identify and discover. And we did some headway. I mean, we were able to come up with $397,000. And we stopped at the police administration. So we definitely helped out with the budget.
Could you repeat that number?
$397,000.
$197,000.
So we went through and identified the one-time expenditures from last year that we would not be carrying forward to this year.
Is that what the 3,000 amounted to?
And reduction in some of the
397?
expenditures. Mhm.
And we, like I said, we stopped. We're at the police department right now. In my vision, the stuff that we had already looked at, I really wasn't going to recommend any cuts at all. It was just savings that we were able to find, going line by line and looking at the past history of what we spent. And definitely we need to tighten up, our belts and and challenge the department heads and a city as a whole to, think twice before you buy it. Do we really need it, or are you just buying it because we have the money? Let's really challenge ourselves to do better.
Okay, further questions? Mr. Beeler.
The taxes that weren't brought in correctly, or we didn't know where they were, did we find all that to bring it in to the books?
Will you refresh my memory on that, please?
Monies that were out there that we were supposed to get paid. I think there were tax collections and other things we got from the government that we didn't know where it was and if it was brought in or how much it was.
Well, we did have a number of revenues that were put into like a holding place, and we have been working on finding out what those are for and getting those distributed to the right place. And the same with the expenditures, some expenditures that when they got to finance, they didn't know where to code them to, so they just put them in this holding fund. And so we've been distributing them to where they should be.
So how much is in this holding fund we still have to work through? Are you halfway through? Cool.
Oh, we're down to just a couple $1,000s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Can I just
Ms.
ask,
Hart.
can I ask what you started at?
32.
So you're down to 32,
We're down from 32 to 2.
from 32, okay.
So 32,000 to
Mhm.
2,000. Okay.
Mhm.
Other questions? Ms. Rosto.
I actually just had a comment. And I don't know how this works. I know we have a salary commission in place. I actually don't know who's a part of that, but us council members get salaries, right, for doing what we do. And I would be willing to donate my salary going forward, to donate it back to the senior center if it's allowed. And so I just don't know what the process is for that, but I think we're in a moment where we're trying to save as much as we can, and I'm in a position where I can give off the money that comes in to me. So I don't know how this works, but I did want to comment and state that I would be willing to do that.
So in other cities that I've worked where council members have chosen to do that, they've received their stipend check and then they just write a check back to however they want it to be
Okay.
donated to, whether it's to the police fund or recreation. And then we typically will have a specific line for donations to go to wherever you would like them to go to.
Okay, then maybe I can work with you and commit that for the next year to the senior center. Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Mr. Deputy Mayor.
And I've been taking notes, right, during the finance subcommittee. So I am going to bring forward some recommendations to the rules committee so we could discuss these. One of them being, just as an example, the YVCOG, the general meetings, right? Right now we have Councilor Ripley and Councilor Fausto as a primary and secondary. Something along the lines that, those members will be the ones getting reimbursed for their dinner. If any other members choose to go, then, maybe not have that reimbursement for those other members, other counselors.
Let's not forget Ms. Hart is part of the executive committee.
Yeah, she's in the executive committee, so that's why I said the general. I believe the executive, they don't have a dinner.
They have a provided lunch.
They provide them lunch? Okay.
No. When you attend as the executive member of the committee,
Oh, we don't pay for that?
you pay out of your own pocket, then you're reimbursed by the city for your attendance at the YVCOG
Yes, yes.
dinners.
Mhm.
Yes, that's the $30 check that
Yes,
you
yes.
wrote to me the other day.
Yes.
Those are monies that are, for your attendance at those. And then also, for me, I also attend the executive board meeting once a month, which is a 2-hour meeting, excuse me, in addition to traveling to the YVCOG meetings as a member of the executive board. Now, with Ms. Ripley and Ms. Fosco, one is the alternate and one is the delegate, which is Ms. Ripley, and Ms. Fosco is the alternate.
It's Frausto.
I'm sorry, Fausto.
Yes, we've been at this for about 11 months.
Yeah, I keep saying.
I
it wrong.
catch my name by
Excuse me.
now.
Let's stay focused.
Excuse me.
And then,
But in any case, that's just so that isn't the lunch, it's actually the dinner.
and then another
Right.
recommendation also with AWC, they provide the webinars, right? But if you wait a month or so, you could go back in there and watch it for free. That's what I've been doing. I've been going afterwards, not paying, the ones to attend live. But you could go back in there and save $30 here, $30 there. It's.
So you're talking about the training.
Yeah, the training. So AWC, you go back in there and watch it for free and you still get your points for those. So stuff like that I'll be bringing forward for the.
Well, and I like that. As I understand it, what you were saying is we've got our appointed members of the YVCOG and executive committee, and anybody else on occasion wants to attend. We've had, in fact, a quorum of council attending, but anybody who's not part of that appointed list will pay for their own meal. If
Yeah.
there is a meal offered, the city won't reimburse them for that. So, okay.
So those are the kinds of things.
Yeah.
Those are,
the kinds of things.
and those are the kinds of things that we can definitely talk about in the Rules Committee, and I appreciate you bringing that up. And I do also want to say, and I alluded to this earlier, I very much appreciate the work of our financial subcommittee, our finance subcommittee on this over the last week. It is a tremendous amount of work. And one thing I appreciate about council, there are 7 of us and we've all got our strengths, and some of us are great at looking at numbers and spreadsheets and understanding all of that and seeing where the discrepancies are. Others are less good at that and good at other things. And so that allows us all to stretch and exercise our talents. And we've got a group of individuals on council right now who is doing an amazing job and dedicating their time. And it's taken a tremendous amount of time. And I just want to, kudos to you guys for doing that. I want to acknowledge that you're really doing an amazing amount of work there, and it's very helpful to us. So please know you have my strong support and encouragement on this for whatever that's worth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right. So to our deputy manager and city manager, anything else you'd like to add to this?
No, excuse me. As we prepare for 2025, one of the things that we're working on right now, and thanks to Dennis Knight, who's helping with this process, and Debbie quite a bit, is getting our financial software in the hands of our directors and our managers. And that's something we've literally been flying blind now for over a year, which it's reprehensible. We can't run a city like that. I feel like next year we'll have much more clarity. We'll have much more expertise and growth with each individual director. And, we have some new directors, and for them to go through this year flying blind is very commendable. So I feel like next year the light bulbs are going to come on so exponentially. So I'm excited about next year in terms of clarity, having a good solid budget, so at least we'll know where we're at. And then we can come to the table here without being like, oh my gosh, I wonder what the council's going to ask us today. Because it's trepidatious when you don't have all the answers. So I'm excited about 25. As much as the challenges that we're going through, I feel like next year is going to be a much more clarity type of year. So I know the public's watching us closely and everything we do. And look, I appreciate what they bring to the table, because, they keep everyone up here on our toes. And I'm a huge believer, as I know everybody on this council is, we are stewards of the taxpayers' dollars, and we need to care about that. And the people of this community work extremely, extremely, extremely hard. And it's not lip service when I say that. And, and I know how each of you feel about that, because I talk to each of you often. So, please know, council, I'm working tremendously hard on your behalf, on our staff's behalf, and on the community's behalf to make sure that next year we have clarity.
All right. Thank you, sir. And we support you in that as council. We definitely want clarity, transparency, and for people to be able to look at it and understand exactly what we're doing.
Mr. Mayor? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes,
I
Ms.
don't wanna
Russell, go ahead.
I have a question, and this is to the city manager, and I don't know if this has been done before. I know we had someone doing public comment about not everybody is really in the know what's been transpiring over the course of really just the year, especially the last couple of months. Is there a place and time to be able to do like a state of the city address, to address maybe doing a live or doing some sort of video to address the community? I know a lot of people aren't here, but I know a lot of people frequent Facebook, for example, and maybe even our website. But maybe keeping something in mind like that, where we can address the community about our financials. Once we get to a good point, I know the finance committee is doing a really great job of working longer hours to get us to a better place, at least in terms of how we see our numbers lining up. So I think it's just a food for thought. If something we can consider to do, I think it can really benefit us.
I think it's a great idea. And I think the timing will be when this budget is over, obviously. So when we speak with authority, and we speak with facts. And, one thing I've been thinking about is sort of our messaging component to the city. And I'm recognizing that we definitely need to be more intentional in terms of the way we communicate with the public and educate, because I think there's a lot of, quite frankly, rumors that get started in the community. I'm an old news guy, so I appreciate What's Up Sunnyside brings to the table, but there's a lot of information that gets on there that, it can take a life of its own. So we have to start controlling our own destiny. So I'm even thinking like quarterly updates on state of the city to say, hey, here's how we're doing. Here's how we're engaging with the public. We're thinking about how we create a blog and what that looks like and the messaging on that. And then also being cognizant of translating that into Spanish for our Spanish speaking residents. So, all these things I wanted to get done earlier, but, we ran into some budget issues here. And so that kind of took priority, but rethinking 2025, I think clarity and communication are the right now the top two things on my mind for 2025. But I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, we have to communicate more effectively.
Yeah. Yeah. Taking control of the narrative. I think it's really important.
Councilor Frausto, thank you for your question. I think that's a good one. I know it's come up, somebody's talked about maybe a state of the city report sometime during the year. And the easy thing to say is, well, we've never done that before, which we haven't, but that doesn't mean that we can't. I know other cities are starting to do that. One of the things that I've noticed, and maybe it's just because I've been observing things more carefully, but since 2020, the earth has kind of shifted under the feet of council in the way that the public interacts with us and the way that we interact with the public. And it's been a bit of a challenge to keep up with that, as well as keeping up with other responsibilities. Yet that responsibility is there. And as the manager said, we have to look at different ways to engage with the public and get the information out there and dispel rumors that are not true, or try to keep things from running away that shouldn't. This is, but anyway, I think, yeah, I'm open to that. And I think that's a good idea. I think there's a definite work for a time and a place for council to do that. Once we get ourselves squared away on the upcoming budget, then we can share that with the public. And this is what we hope to do. This is where we hope to be at the end of this year. My goal for this year was to be incredibly transparent. I made that very clear to the manager. Well, that everything changed very quickly, and I'm incredibly disappointed about the fact that it hasn't been transparent, not even to myself. But I'm seeing new light. Things have changed. Things have shifted. We're moving in a different direction. And council has engaged, and council's taking action in good directions, and I'm very happy about that as well. So, no, that was a very good observation, and I think that should happen, yes. Any further comments on item E, budget discussion?
If I can,
Ms. Zabel, yes.
thank the finance committee. So I did, when I sat there on my first night and I said, ask any question, let's get this figured out. The finance committee has taken it seriously. They have very sharp pencils. I've gotten poked a couple times with them, but I think the community should be really proud of the council members and the work that they're doing, because they really are looking out for their best interest. So
Thank you,
I
Ms. Zabel.
haven't worked with council members who are this dedicated to getting their budget put together. So
No, I would agree with your observation. All right, moving on. Council member reports, mayor's appointments for boards and commissions. We have not met in Rules Committee. We need to do that here coming up. We have been focused on the budget in the last week. And so in order to give the deputy mayor some space to be able to focus on what he needs to focus on without dividing his attention too much, the Rules Committee, it has not met. And that's the committee that works on appointments for boards and commissions. We do have some vacancies, and we also have some applications that we'd like to get finalized. And so we will find a time when we can meet, but I don't want to overwhelm you with everything else that's going on, Mr. Deputy Mayor. So item B then, other reports, announcements, and or questions by council. And we'll start with Mr. Beeler.
I have nothing to report.
All right, Ms. Ripley.
I have nothing to report.
Ms. Frausto.
That was going to be my question, when the rules were going to come back to us for a vote. So y'all have another meeting pending?
Okay, so the rules coming back for a vote, Miss Renteria was on vacation for 2 weeks, and so she and I need to find a time where we can meet. Unfortunately, she's been in training, and so we haven't been able to get together yet. But we are looking for a time where we can meet and make sure that she gets all of those changes and suggestions transposed correctly so that the copy you get to study before we vote is the correct one.
Okay.
And so that is going to come before the end of the year. And then we can vote on that. But yes, it is pending. Thank you for your question. Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, so last week when I brought up curfew for juveniles, I had attended a meeting with residents that were concerned with everything going on, and I thought I was going crazy because I remember reading that we do have a curfew, and I couldn't find it that day. But we do have a curfew right now implemented. It's chapter 9.82, parental responsibilities for juveniles. A curfew is listed on there. So I guess I'm going to ask the city attorney to go through it and see maybe if there's something that we need to change on it or whatnot. Because I did get your email, I went through and I using the information from other cities, I did write it up as an ordinance. So, maybe if we already have this, we don't need to reinvent the wheel.
What are the hours?
I actually just reviewed this, but the chief layman forwarded it to me to review for all this too. And it's a good basis to start with. There's a few portions that probably need to be, I guess, the legal term would be tightened up a little bit because they kind of run afoul of the statute at this point. And so mainly having to do with the civil penalties involving the parents of this, which have to be kind of reworked. So they're not actual criminal sanctions for all this. So,
and I'm waiting for MRSC, because that's another thing that we talked about in the finance committee, to use MRSC more in the legal, not to say that Mr. Riley, we can't use you, but definitely a way to save money in next year, guys. I'm waiting for the MRSC to answer a few of my questions, and then that way I could forward you the ordinance that I typed up. But that was it.
Just if I may, real quick, Deputy Mayor, if you look at chapter 6.09 of Yakima's municipal code, just in October, they just passed a curfew law.
6.09?
Correct.
Thank you.
For minors?
Yes. It's actually a little bit, like Mr. Riley said, it's kind of loosely based off of ours. I mean, or they're similar, but there are some differences.
Yeah, and I noticed that ours is like at least 30 years old. 1994 or 1991 were the reference here. So it definitely needs some review, but yeah, thank you for noticing that. Anything else? Sorry.
Yes, I just wanted to say that Saturday attended actually participated and attended the Thanksgiving dinner that was held over at the community center. They had prepared food for somewhere in the neighborhood of 250 folks. Ended up feeding 68 people at the senior centers. I know that because I got to pack them all over there with the help of the Sunnyside High School Key Club and the Sunnyside Court. They loaded them into the back of my van, and then when I got over there, I shanghaied a young man who was helping his dad change tires to move him back into the Senior Citizen Center. So he got some volunteer hours that day, or a few minutes too. But it was well done. The Lions were there. Like I said, the Sunnyside High School Key Club members were there. Some of their friends, I think, showed up as well. Was lots and lots of food, and everybody really enjoyed a great meal. All the food that was there was donated to the community center via the I think grocery outlet, and then personal donations from folks in the community that made donations for that meal as well. And I understand there's the Sunnyside Police Department has a food giveaway tomorrow afternoon starting around 3:00. I'm thinking it's over off of Warehouse and Ace Hardware parking lot. Is that correct?
Yes, 6th and Warehouse is where it'll be. It'll be on this side of 6th Street.
Right. On the east side of 6th Street, or on the west side?
West side.
West side. anyway, so there's food being given out. Last weekend, the Cornerstone Church held a dinner and clothing giveaway for the homeless in the community. And that was really well received as well. So there's a lot of really good things, as County Commissioner Lindy said earlier. People don't know how to volunteer unless you teach them how to volunteer. And there's a lot of volunteering going on in this community. And when you have good volunteers in your community, you have less crime. And I think that that's something we need to remember as well. There are good people and they're all helping out in any way that they can. So I just wanted to comment on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hart. All right, thank you all for your comments. I know there was a number of events that happened this past week that I was wanting to attend but was unable to attend. So thank you for council members for being there. I know a individual mentioned in public comment time that tomorrow evening in these chambers at 6:30 there will be a meeting. Part of the group is iWatch, and part of it is a group that's been patrolling our streets, trying to render assistance to the police department. And I know there's several of us that are going to attend. I encourage members of the public to attend to see how you can participate in becoming part of the solution. So I think that information will be very helpful to all of us, but I'm going to do my best to be there. Also, I will be participating along with two other council members, Councilor Ripley, Deputy Mayor, myself, and the city manager on a tour of Windmill Farms over on Midvale Road tomorrow and get an idea of what that operation is like. We hear from different sides what's going on and different things. It'll be interesting to hear a different perspective and see what it looks like from the business side of it. So I'm looking forward to that. He seems to be fairly excited. The manager, Mr. Craddy, has extended an invitation. So we're going to be attending there. I think if you talk to me before the end of the evening, if you want to attend as a member of the public, let me know and I'll make sure that he knows that you're going to be there so that he can make provision for extra people. But it'll be at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning that I'll be attending there. Yeah. As we look forward to Thanksgiving coming up later this week, I just want to wish everybody an awesome Thanksgiving, great time. Hopefully you get to spend time with family. I myself will be spending time with the daughter and her family, meeting a new grandchild for the first time. She's already a month old, but I haven't had the opportunity to meet her yet. So I'm pretty excited about that. And then next week, Monday, we're back at it again. And so that will be the next item on our agenda. Upcoming council meetings, Monday, December 2 study session. And our city clerk has all that information up on the board. Madam City Clerk.
Excuse me. For December 2nd, you will be discussing the 2025 budget. And then for December 9th, you'll be taking action on a final budget amendment for 2024. We'll also be holding a public hearing regarding the 2025 final budget, and then adoption afterwards. Also taking action on next year's official newspaper. We have a study session scheduled on December 16th with a possible special meeting afterwards. We don't have any agenda items yet, but if anything changes, we'll let you know.
All right, thank you. Once again, a reminder that any items that need to be placed on the budget need to come to the manager, myself, or the clerk on the Monday before the meeting. So 1 week before the meeting so that everybody has time to get that information or whatever necessary information is there. Next item, city manager reports. Mr. City Manager.
Mayor, I don't have anything to report other than to thank staff and Debbie for their hard work on the budget and thank the council for their patience and thank the public for their input and their questions. So I think we covered everything, and tomorrow I will be at that iWatch meeting. If there's one thing I did want to mention, and I know I did get some inquiries from the public. Are we partnering with iWatch, and why did you let this meeting go forward, and things of that nature? Because I'm discovering in certain circles, iWatch. Some people don't appreciate iWatch. I've talked with Jim Stevenson, and I let him know some of the concerns of the public. And I think he addressed some of those at a council meeting. So, I really wanted iWatch to have the opportunity to speak to Chief Lehman and the command staff to get some questions. And, it's really going to be a hands-off approach. And the mechanism for communication is what was the important component. So iWatch is going to be out there patrolling, and I think it's always good to have a good line of communication. And just to piggyback off that, I did meet with Maria Lopez from YB today, and she's going to be at the meeting. And I know she's tried to do some block watch creation in the past with downtown businesses. So not to say that anything's going to come to fruition with YB but they're going to be there to support us. And one thing I will be doing is working with YB on more downtown business outreach and making sure that they're more in the communication lane with the city. Because, I've done quite a bit of outreach downtown, and I think they're appreciating that we're in the game now and we're talking to them. So I feel like we're making progress, and communication is the key. So I think everybody that is able to come to this meeting tomorrow, please come so we can all voice our opinions and how we make ourselves a safe city.
All right. Thank you, sir. And I'll take an opportunity to thank you for your weekly emails informing us of what's going on. Nobody on council likes to be surprised when some member of the community asks them, hey, what about this? And so your emails have been very informative, and including information from all of your department heads has been very helpful for each of us. So thank you for that, and carry on. All right. Is my understanding that an executive session is not necessary this evening?
No, sir.
All right. So there being no further business to come before this council, and if there's no objection, we are adjourned at 7:24 p.m. It is for this council. I think